Game started.
M. Kumar. Oh look, very comparable ratings. Let's start off with d4, see if we can get a regular d4 opening this time. Last time I played d4 and ended up in a French defense. D4, d5. c4. I could have tried one of those knight c3 lines. But, well, we get a Slav here. Okay, he goes for the triangle setup. Actually, that's maybe not what I usually play in knight c3. I usually play e3 first to defend the pawn, because he could have grabbed that pawn and tried to hold on to it. There are risks, but once he's got this triangle setup, that's always a possibility. Once he's got the pawn on c6. Anyway, he didn't, so I'll play e3 now. And this is my usual plan of development in these queen's pawn openings. Just get the pieces out and castle, and then I'll push forward in the center. Maybe queen to e2 first, and then push the pawn, or just pushing right away is also good. I'm never sure if the queen move is useful or not. Let's push right away. This opens up the diagonal for the dark squared bishop. Usually they trade out here. He's just defending. It's almost like he wants to take back with the bishop there. Okay, so anyway, I've got one of these positions where I have a little more space, but it's black's position is solid too here. So there's no huge advantage for white here. If I go here, that's the question. So I'm thinking about this move, bishop to g5, and if he takes my knight, I have to take his bishop. I kind of want to trade off that bishop. That's the good bishop in this structure, so that would be okay. Question is, does he have some weird tempo move? So bishop g5, knight takes knight, bishop takes bishop. So the pieces are even at that point. His queen is under attack. He can move to here or here, attacking my queen. He can just take it or take his queen. Takes my queen, I take the knight, he takes my bishop. It all comes out about even. Oops, I played the wrong move. So I think, anyway, I'm not losing material in this line. And of course, if I can weaken the defenses around his king and set up a battery with bishop and knight over here, that's the kind of ideal setup. So can I do that now? Knight takes, bishop takes, bishop takes. And then it's still, I don't have a battery yet. Do I have a sacrifice? Knight takes, bishop takes, bishop takes. Bishop here, check. King takes, knight here, check. Oh, he's got bishop takes knight. So there is no sacrifice on h7. So let's set up the battery first. Get the queen to d3, bishop c2, and then play knight takes knight. Okay, so he's attacking the b-pawn and the d-pawn. D-pawn is defended, but the b-pawn isn't. If I go for the attack right away, though, queen to d3, let him take the b-pawn. Then I have knight takes knight, knight takes, bishop takes. And if bishop takes, then queen here, check, gets the pawn back and starts chasing his king around. So I think queen to d3 comes with a big enough threat that I can ignore his threat on b2. There's also the possibility that I can just trap the queen by playing rook b1, can't I? Yeah, so he can't take that pawn anyway. And queen is guarding the escape square on a3, so after queen takes b2, rook to b1, his queen is trapped. Okay, so it looks like he's thinking about this position, trying to figure out how. You know, there's probably another way to play this. If you look at Black's development and the fact that his bishop is not at all participating in the game, you know, it may be possible just to play quietly and maneuver your pieces around and just get to the optimal position. But, well, if you have a tactical strike, you should go for it. So it all depends on what he plays. I mean, he can't move the knight. He can't move this pawn. I mean, if he moves the knight, then his king side will fall apart. And if he moves the pawn, well, now he can move the pawn. The queen was blocking the pawn, so that bishop had no way of getting into the game. Okay, so let's calculate this again. Knight takes knight comes with a check. He takes with the knight or the bishop. If he takes with the bishop, then I can go with the check right away. So I'll take back with the, so he'll take with the knight, I'll take, and then once again I'm threatening the check over here, and also I'm a piece up, so he takes back and I get that check in. So I guess this should win
Check.
At least a pawn over here, and it also should mess up his king side to the point where I should get something. Yeah, I can at least win the G pawn as well as the H pawn. Oh, he could take with the G pawn instead of taking with the bishop. Yeah, taking with the bishop seems most logical, though. Ah,
Check.
and it also defends the G pawn. Okay, so all I won was one pawn here. I can deliver another check, but what does that really do? Okay, none of my pawns are under fire at the moment. Maybe bringing a rook to the center here. I don't want to just check again and chase his king out. It just opens up the rook here, and maybe he'll bring his rook over. I mean, I'll have to move my queen again at least to get off the back rank. So something like rook to E1. His queen is looking at that rook, but it's defended. And then pawn to D4, or check first. No, I need to open up the E file. Pawn to D5. Pawn takes, queen takes. So bishop to B3, kind of a funny move, but it threatens pawn to D5. And if he takes and I take, he can't take with the queen, and I'll take here. The idea is to try and open up that E file so his king will be trapped. Is there a more direct way to open up the E file? Like taking here. Don't see it. There's also rook. Rook D1 to threaten D5. Rook D1, queen takes A2, pawn to D5. Queen takes B2. I take on E. Yeah, let's switch the bishop to this diagonal and try and threaten that B3 move and try and open up, try and threaten D5 and open up the E file here. Yeah, so now I can play this. Of course, now he can bring his rook over, but I have a retreat for my queen. Ah, okay. Be careful of the dark squared diagonal here. Let's line up this way. My knight is covering H4, so he can't play rook H4 to harass my queen again. And my knight is also covering E5 there, so he can't play bishop E5. Okay, so let's take. Where should I take? Don't know if it matters. If I take here, Since his king has voluntarily left the e-file. Take with the bishop. I can get in a check. And the bishop hits my queen right away. Let's take this way. And then I decided to take with the pawn, then pile up on his bishop there. So knight to e5, bishop takes, queen takes, queen takes. Maybe that's possible. Maybe I want to play h3 at some point to relieve the pressure on the h-file. But anyway, I got his king to move, and he was not castled, so it means his queen's rook is out of play. So I should be in good shape here, just kind of by force of arms here. But he is, yeah, he's looking at h2 there. So let's go ahead and play h3 now. So I'm a little low on time, so I don't want to spend forever looking for the strongest move. But so there probably are going to be some better moves along here. But yeah, simplifying the position should work out well too. The trades queens, I have the idea of playing c5 and ganging up on the isolated e-pawn there. Or I could trade queens.
Check.
And push that pawn forward. Yeah, he gets, he can bring his rook over him. Let's see, I can double rooks. So, well, all I got out of this was a one-pawn advantage. But, well, his pawns are a bit weak, too. And I can gang up on his bishop this way, right? Maybe I can just keep him tied down. What, is that a mistake? Did he mean to play rook to g6 to defend the pawn? That's kind of what I was expecting. Well, what will happen? If I take and he brings his rook over, well, I can take here with check. Takes, bishop takes, king takes, rook takes. King takes, and we get into that king and pawn ending where I am 2 pawns up. So I think I can do this. So maybe he meant to play rook g6, I'm not sure. Or maybe he was intending to double, but I don't think doubling works. I think this is going to lead to a rook and pawn ending where I should have the advantage. Let's keep taking.
Check.
And, well, let's see if we will find out if all rook and pawn endings are drawn, I guess. Let's start by securing my existing pawns. This one was a bit advanced, so let's want to get a3 in. Well, I can play a3 any time now, so now I want to bring my king in. I'll just
Check.
take that. And bring my king forward. Yeah, now I can play a3. And, of course, he can dissolve those pawns over there. But, well, let's attack. Let's attack this pawn. And get myself a passed pawn over here on the king side. So this should be good. This should be fairly straightforward win here. Let's bring my king this way.
Check.
And use the pawns as shields for the king as I march the king down the board. And at some point I'll just be far enough ahead that it won't matter that he wins a pawn over here. Like now.
Check.
The 2 pawns.
Black resigns.
Yeah, they're going to be no match for the queen, so he went ahead and resigned. Okay, well, that was a good game. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will be back with a postmortem. See you then. Bye.